So in this last video, let's go ahead and set our render settings, and then we can just go ahead and render, and then I'll come back when the render is finished and we'll set the lights and save our image. So let's go over here to our render globals, make sure that we're going to render here with Fryrender. Click our open environment settings and make sure that we don't have our sun checked. I just set the width and height here to 15 by 1125, and I left the aspect ratio on here so that when I change this, it'll automatically change the height to match. Just going to leave it for a single frame, so it's going to be a still. And in the ignition, I'm just going to export the RCS and execute Fryrender. For the path here, this just exports the RCS to wherever you set the path, so that you could, launch Fryrender automatic or outside of Maya and import the RCS and render it that way. But from now, I'm just going to go ahead and render from within inside Maya once I hit the render tab. So let's go ahead and click accept, close this, bring up our render window, and hit render. And as you can see, it's exporting all the geometry to Fryrender. And that was actually pretty fast because the scene's still pretty much low res geometry. The higher or the more geometry that you actually have in your scene, the longer it'll take to bring all those polygon meshes or geometry into Fry or to start Fry. But since our scene was low, it didn't really take too long. And as you can see, the image has actually already come up. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this render, and then when it's finished, I'll go ahead and come back and show you how to adjust the lights and save out our image. Okay, now that I'm back, we can go ahead and, as you can see, the render has taken pretty much all of the noise out of the image here. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop the render to where I want it now, because I'm pretty happy with this. So let's just click the stop render button here. And now I'm just going to go ahead and move some of the stuff out of the way so that we can see our image while I adjust the lights. So just grab it where the arrows are here and just drag this over so we can get a bigger viewport here, and that should be good. Now, like I said earlier, the f-stop will actually give you a higher number, will actually give you a darker image. So if we set this at, say, 100, which was the default, you can see that this over here on the right is going to be a very, very dark image. So typically I just go ahead and say turn this up to like 650, and then we get a basic good light standard here. My operator, I'll just go ahead and turn this to the linear tone mapping, which it tends to give us some very soft shadows. For post-processing, you also have a brightness control here, so you can just keep clicking until it just gets bright and bright and bright and bright. And if we have to say 500, it's going to really brighten the image, or 100, it'll really brighten the image. Same with the contrast and the saturation. You can turn those up, and it's going to really turn the color saturation completely up. You also have a lens effect control here, where you can take the vignetting, which will, like, say if we add 100 here, it really focuses in on what we're rendering. I'm just going to actually turn that to 0 and turn that completely off. You can also add a bloom effect, which you can see it'll sort of glare it, or add like a environment fog to it. And the glare here, if we turn this on, let's say turn this to 100, you can see that it's really going to blow the image out here. Same with this one too. So I'm just going to turn those back to 0. The environment mapping here is really for HDRI usage, and since we didn't really use one here, or image for the background here, I'm not really going to explain to you what those do, but I'll cover those whenever we go to render an interior. So let's go ahead and move this back over a little bit so that we can bring our light mixer tab up here, and I'll show you what we have actually set up here. If we go ahead and turn these all the way down, just leave this master at say 38.5%, you can see that there's no lights here. Now what we did with those light mixer setups is we can control the light intensity independently here whenever I go to move these sliders. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This would be a white light. This is our yellow light. This is another white light. This is another yellow white light, and then this is the effect light, as you can see here. And if I just start moving these, we can adjust them to where we want to, adjust our lights and have our lights set up the way we want it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this and move this one up. Leave that where it is. Bring these down a little bit here. Move this one up a little more. Move this one down. I just want to try to get at least a glare up here in the right hand corner. And I'm looking up here in the right hand corner while I go ahead and adjust these. That's okay. Add a little more glare in the glass there. Let's go to brighten the overall. That's too much. See, right there should be fine. Pull this up a little bit. Now I just want to go ahead and add a little bit of yellow here in the image. So let's go ahead and select this one and just drag it. You can add a little bit of yellow there and a little bit of yellow in the background. Pull this back down, and to bring this image into here, all I want to do is hit this sync tone mapping, or you can use the shortcut, which is control space. So I'll just go ahead and click this, bring the image in here, let it update. It's going to take a minute. And as you can see, it has updated our image here. And I'm fairly happy with this render, and this looks pretty good. So now let's say that I want to go ahead and save this image out to my director or my desktop. All I want to do is either click the 8-bit here, click the 16-bit, or click the HDR. This will allow us to save the image as an HDR image or a 16-bit image, which is typically your PNG, TIFF, and the other TIFF. The 8-bit image here, which will be your JPEGs, your TGA, your PNG, or an 8-bit TIFF. So we'll just go ahead and save this as an 8-bit image and click our desktop, put it on our Fry output here, save it as, say, a target, so that we can have an alpha channel, so we can take this into After Effects and do some more adjustment. But for this, I'm just going to go ahead and save this as a JPEG, and we'll say Jelly Beans rendered, and go ahead and click save, and that'll save your JPEG to the directory that you wanted. That's about it for this tutorial. I'm going to add a bonus lesson too, to show you how to take and render out the RCS file, so that you can then just go ahead and bring that into Fryrender. But before I go, I want to give a big thank you to Erwin Loyson for simulating the jelly beans into the jelly bean jar here. Also Chima and John, who do the development for Fryrender. And that's it. Thanks for watching.